Welcome, dear friends. This is Kardec Radio at 11 p.m. with you to nourish our souls. We're studying the book Mediumship and Attunement, and this book was written by Emmanuel through Chico Xavier in 1985 to 1986. It was published in 1986, and finally, after 33 years, we have this book available in English, so we can study it together. In the previous chapters, including the preface, we've come to know that mediumship is much, much, much more than people imagine. So we need to pay attention to the education of our mediumship and to focus on what we're tuning into daily. It's not only in a mediumistic meeting. Many people think that mediumship is about a mediumistic meeting, but it's not. We're mediums 24/7. There's no break. It's always within us. It's like intelligence. And what are we doing with it? Are we good mediums? What is to be a good medium? Well, that question was asked by Kardec. And the Spirit said a good medium is the one that is easy on the hands of the good spirits. Are we being easy in the hands of the good spirits? Well, how do we know? Good spirits only do the good. They care for others. They're not selfish or proud. So, if we want to be mediums of the good spirits, we need to be willing to do the good and benefiting the general good. If that's what we're proposed to do, we'll be good mediums, daily, 24/7, wherever we are, irrespective of a spiritist center or a mediumistic meeting. A mediumistic meeting in a spiritist center is like the cherry on the top of a beautiful ice cream, and I say this not undermining it, but saying, it's really something to be achieved, because we're talking about spiritual ER work, like emergency work, spiritual counseling that happens for the spirits that are wandering around and in need of help. But in our daily lives, we're being called to be good mediums. So you are invited to meditate on this and know that you're a medium. Mediumship is in all of us, and it's organic, as Kardec says in the Medium's book, written in 1861, a book that is so up to date that we are yet to understand it fully. People need to study it. And I know many people who make a lot of money with their mediumship. In Spiritism, we don't. Okay, so we are the real deal, in the sense, spiritists, they practice it for the sake of it, to help others, but not charging. It's a no-no. So when I see many books out there, beautiful, okay, that's beautiful, but there are people making money of it for themselves. They're saying beautiful things, but the purpose is to gain for them alone. And in that regard, we say no thank you. We would stay with the truth, the real deal, the complete, coherent model for us. And that's what Kardec, Chico Xavier's books bring to us. Exactly. Teresa Castro is saying Christian charity. Exactly. Inevitably, the good spirits won't come to us if we pay them $1 million or $1, nothing. They will actually be with us if we want to do the good, if we're interested in the general good. Of course, they help all of us when we need, but if we want to be mediums of the good spirits, we need to do the good. That's a rule of thumb we can't forget, right? Since I've noticed we are in the classroom together. So hello friends, Karina, Alice, big hug to you. Rihanna, super hug to you. Jailton, Amanda Andrade, Nora Brasil, how are you? Teresa Castro, thank you, Teresa. Rosie Neves Greg, how are you? Daisy, hello Daisy. Carol Correia, how are you? Raquel Bakeshi, how are you? If I haven't seen you here, big hug to you. And if you're listening or watching on demand, feel the presence of this moment, because it's as real as life, because the brain doesn't distinguish. Okay? So, tonight we're reading and studying chapter 16, book Mediumship and Attunement. Today, Emmanuel titled it Clarification. What does he need to clarify in regards to mediumship and attunement? That's very curious, the way he says it. So I guess it's like the teacher warning us about something. He's clarifying because he felt something has not been clear throughout these messages. What is it? Are you ready? Yes. So let us study together. Clarification, chapter 16, Mediumship and Attunement. Many companions request guidance from heaven to win over the earthly trials. But in truth, we do not need so much new enlightening scriptures, but rather more intense action in the uplifting work of the good. More intense action in the uplifting work of the good. The way is the world, world school, world workshop, in which valuable experiences complement the soul faithfully interested in its own elevation. Let us not dwell on the expectation of those who worship the Lord without any effort to serve Him. He Himself bequeathed us with the good news, the luminous map for the pilgrimage on earth. Let us release the clarity that lies cloistered in our hearts and move on. There are thorns claiming extinction. There are wounds asking for balm. There are afflictions begging for peace. There are stones waiting for friendly arms to use them. There are minds imprisoned in the shade begging for light. There are abandoned children begging for help to consolidate the foundations on which a new life begins. Whoever is seeking the inspiration of the angels, do not forget the places where the angels collaborated with heaven, diminishing suffering and ignorance on earth. To act in the good is to seek the sympathy of the wise and the benevolent spirits, and finding it. If Jesus did not stop in silent contemplation, moving in the service for his neighbor from the manger to the cross, let no one wait for the visitation of the divine messengers, paralyzing their hands in hope without work, and faith without works. The improvement of mediumship and renewing spiritualization are problems of goodwill in the decision to work and cooperation, because only seeking to bring heaven into the world through our application to the good is that we will discover the true road that will effectively lead us to heaven. So he's clear, huh? Many people, I want more messages. I want a message for me. Are we like this? We're always looking at mediums. Nowadays, even in the Spiritist movement, people are still like this. They go after mediums like, oh, they're going to say a special message for me. And we look for angels like this, hoping that they come to us, just for us, to love and take care of us. And actually, the high spirits, they will take care of us, but we'll be there with them when we look forward to helping others. So he says, more intense, let us note the highlights, more intense action in the uplifting work of the good. He says, our planet is a school and a workshop, meaning we learn and work, serve. And he says it's a pilgrimage on earth. There is a passing tone to it. We'll be here temporarily. And what are we doing with this? We're not here to learn, If we acquire knowledge, and do not put in practice, or putting practice in a little group of people because there is a personal advantage to it, a personal benefit, then we're missing the boat. And then you may be asking, but Vanessa, doing the good, mediumship, he's talking about the improvement of mediumship at the end of this. He's saying it only comes when we really help others. But we need to learn how to help. When people really need, and help them in ways that are really effective. Hello, Paula, Sandra, Lea Severo, John Da Rosa, welcome. So friends, he's reminding us that we can help. But you may be asking, is it talking about a mediumistic meeting in the Spirit Center? It's talking about both. Because he says, there are thorns claiming extinction, meaning people who are feeling hurt and need help, wounds that need balm, afflictions that need peace, stones. You know, if you talk to people, you're going to observe that most often people are suffering because they assume things or have beliefs that are hurtful. We need to liberate ourselves and people from those hurtful beliefs. There are people who easily conclude, this happened in my life because I didn't deserve any better. Hold your horses there, please. No. Everybody deserves the best because we're children of God. So what happened there? There's what we call expiation, which is an educational process. But I don't like to suffer. Well, suffering is subjective. I'm sorry to say, but according to science and the Spirit is science, suffering is subjective, meaning it's up to us to define something as suffering or not. For Jesus, the moment at the cross was not a suffering moment, though it hurt. But he didn't classify as suffering, which is a different thing. In science, we consider pain one of the physical senses because it's a way through which we learn something is off. So pain is a sign that something needs to be adjusted, that we need to change. For example, if I put my hand on a stove, it's gonna hurt. And the body is going to withdraw the hand if it's functioning well. And that's good. Pain is saying, no, take your hand off of there. I did. Thank God. How many of us go through the painful process and we don't get it? We're not synchronized with our lives. We're not fully aware. We keep repeating the same. We keep staying in the same position. We keep staying in the same mode. And we don't get that we need to, boom, adjust ourselves. So pain is an alarm telling us, change, change, move, try something new. We keep bumping heads and bumping heads and bumping heads. A new message, as Emmanuel is saying, enlightening scripture, is not going to change it. What is going to change our lives? When we work for the benefit of everyone. Now, back to mediumship. How can we help humanity? Well, if I educate my mediumship, I will be more emotionally controlled. I will be less of a voice of the disturbed that discarnates in my daily life. You know, those moments when people come and you say precisely, without noticing, the things that hurt them, and you ask yourself, what have I done? I haven't done anything. We're mediums. We don't know. But the spirits that are obsessing them know that you're an easy speaker of their voice. Right? And then we don't pacify. We don't create peace where we are. So when we educate our mediumship, we'll be better peacemakers. We'll be more useful in our daily lives. Plus, work in a mediumistic setting, you can help by decompressing the pressure that is felt by the discarnate spirits. If it's hard to find a psychotherapist in the physical realm, a good one, imagine in the spiritual realm. Very hard. How many spirits are not aware of what's going on with them? And then if you make yourself available in your group, whether small or a little larger, whether it's a fully formed spirit center or not, you'll be helping decompress that pressure. And we don't need many hours. Few hours is enough for the good spirits to use us to decompress their pains, their sorrows, and rescue them. That's what we call the rescue work, the disobsession work. Right, Sandra? So, if there is one thing on earth that you can do, preparing yourself well to help people for a better reincarnation and help both realms, incarnates and discarnates, by decompressing the obsessions around, is to train yourself for mediumistic meetings. It takes time, as we've seen in previous chapters, but it pays off. It pays off. I know many people are like, but I don't want to do this work. Study it. Study it. Study it. Do an internship. You know, this is something that we should have more systematically available at spiritist centers. Internships. Once people are studying it, they do internship, and then by observing and knowing that they are observing, they understand better what it is, and they can start practicing it, just like we do in medicine, psychology, dentistry, the health sciences in general, and professions in general, right? With that consciousness and conscientiousness as well, with respect for the lives of both realms. And he says, let us release the clarity that lies cloistered in our hearts and move on. But people are still like, but me? Yes, you. Because probably if you're listening to this, if you are listening to this, it's probably that you're being called to do a work that you programmed in your reincarnatory plan. But Vanessa, I barely know about things. I don't have a group. Hurry up. Now with the internet, there are many study groups. There are many books. There are many ways of doing this. But we need to fulfill our program, the reincarnatory program. How else are we going to help in the regeneration of the planet? Including our own regeneration. It takes sacrifice, but Emmanuel says in 2 chapters ago, education happens with discipline. Discipline happens with sacrifice, and he says sacrifice is not easy for anyone, but it's needed. So we need to sacrifice our time of leisure and rest. To study, to do the internship. We need to sacrifice family time. Oh yeah, because our family is not more important than the universal family, or is it? No, it's not. If you think that your little family is more important than the universal family, we need to revisit the Christ conscious teachings. Because Jesus modeled for us, yes, our family is precious, but the universal family is equally important. We need to give our time equally to both families. Oh, but it's so hard. Sacrifice. 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 Sacrifice time, sacrifice pleasures, sacrifice easy things, sacrifice professional priorities. Oh yes. You know, Mentor Joseph once said to me, Vanessa, in many lives, okay, you have been giving priority to profession, to family. This is about another priority. All the spiritists currently on earth are being called to prioritize the dissemination of the good news. And we don't need to be famous to do it. As anonymous as we are to the world, but we need to do our share. Or we're going to be called greedy, intellectual, greedy people who acquire knowledge, read books, watch lectures, but don't share. How much of what you know you share with others? You could share much more. And you could share by patiently forming a group. Having a spiritist group is not easy, but it's needed. We need tolerance, and Kardec says, he says, we need, and I'm writing down a piece of paper here, okay? To do the spiritist work, we need 3 things: work, solidarity, and tolerance. And I'm writing down almost like scribble scrabble here: work, solidarity, and tolerance. Work because it's labor intensive. Solidarity, we need one another, it's teamwork effort, supporting each other. And third, tolerance, because we're not equal. We need to tolerate our differences. We need to tolerate the pathway that is hard for each and every one, but keep on going, begin anew, and that's the life of any group, okay? So, for us, Emmanuel is saying, to act, whoever is seeking the inspiration of the angels, do not forget the places where the angels collaborated with heaven, diminishing suffering and ignorance on earth. That's the very passage Umberto de Campos once said about Matthew. Matthew was one of the most intellectual disciples. And after Jesus passing, he was missing the master very, very much. And he decided to go fasting. So he climbed a mountain, went to a little shack, and spent there 40 days praying and fasting, praying and fasting. And one day, the master came. They had dinner together. They talked. It was a joy. But then at some point, he observed that Jesus was walking out of the door. And he said, Master, what's happening? Where are you going? He said, well, I'm going to the valley of suffering. But aren't you going to stay? No, I can't. I can't stop until the last tear is actually dried out. But Master, and he left. The next day, the disciple understood that to be with the Master, he had to be in the valley of the suffering. So if we want to cherish the company of the good spirits, we need to find pain, sorrows, hurts, wounds, the people who really need, and go after them. Not because we have the remedy, but the good spirits do. They're going to use us. Sometimes we be in front of people who are in need and we don't know what to do. Believe it or not, how often I am in front of people willing to help, but I have no idea because I don't know them. And I pray inside of my mind saying, please let me know what we can do to be of help. Because I may think they need clothes, they need shoes. But the mentors say, no. Look at them in the eye, Vanessa, in the eyes. Smile. And just accept them for whom they are at this moment. You don't need to say anything. And then when I do it, I see a smile. I see somebody who observed they are not invisible anymore. Everybody has that need to feel they are being seen. They are noticed. We're humans. And that's more valuable than things that we may give. It's when they know, like children, that we're there. No matter how much we give them materially, but they see our hearts beating for them when we look at them in the eyes and say, wow, as if we're saying, it's so good to be with you. It's so good to be here. And we are all children of God. Umberto de Campos also told once of another story of a king who had a lot of fortune, family, children, lands, but he died. And once in the discarnate realm, he wanted to see his family back again. He came on visiting. Nobody remembered anymore. Nobody cared. His wife moved on. Nobody wanted to talk about him. And then he wanted to reincarnate and begin anew. Couldn't find people who really appreciated him and wanted to open a door in their family for him. It was then that an angel, a superior spirit, came to him and said, come here. You're gonna meet the people who'll be receiving you in their family. It was a peasant family, a man very simple and humble, but he adored the king because the king gave him a piece of bread one day and he never forgot it. He was so thankful And Humberto de Campos ends this account by saying that that king was then preparing to be reincarnated in the family of that peasant man, but a man who adored him and was able to open his arms to that spirit. So, you never know. You never know if what you're going to give is going to make a big difference in people's lives. But when we give, people connect. And in that connection, there is a promise for the future. We don't do things expecting anything in return, but inevitably, when we sow the good, the good will be harvested later. We don't know what's going to come out of it, but the good germinates from the good. So, are you sowing the good? How much good are you sowing? Our homework is to evaluate our quality and quantity of sowing. We need to, he says, be more intensive in our action of doing the good. If we are doing this much, Emmanuel is saying, do more. Because that's the only way we will be able to be good mediums, doing the good in greater intensity, and thus we will be led to heaven, to that peace within, that happiness within, and you and I, Jesus and Buddha, we are all loved the same way by God. Friends, with much gratitude for Emmanuel for this clarification, which is very emphatic, let us then raise our thoughts in prayer and pray that we find courage to be more driven in doing the good in our daily lives. Shall we, friends? Dear God, it's so good to know that doing the good makes us good, feels good. Thank you for teaching us that we always progress, never regress. And for the courage you deposit in us so we can achieve higher levels of understanding. We're more joyful today than we were yesterday, because with these messages, we are reassured that this is the pathway. Make no mistake, dear God, we won't give up. With you, we can go places, and the so expected and dreamed heaven, the heaven of our clean conscience, and a co-creation in harmony with you. We want to be more harmonious in co-creating daily by doing the good. May the loving and kind spirits that you send to us to guide our lives receive our gratitude for their beautiful work, tutoring us, patiently guiding us to the next level of service, of learning, and of loving. And for the things we don't know yet and we don't understand, may we feel your greatness, bow down to you daily, and ask God, how can I do better? How can I improve myself? How can I be more aligned with you? And purifying our hearts and minds in the waters of your love, may we shine more brightly the light of yours inside of us. May everyone connected to us feel the blessings of your presence and be stimulated to do the good sooner than later. And so be it. Thank you, friends. Big hug to you, Iraci, to Rosemary, Renata Casadei, Sandra, Friends, tomorrow we'll have another chapter in Mediumship and Attunement. For now, let us be good co-creators, mediums, and share the good, because the good feels good. Thank you, Rudy. Thank you, Teresa. Until tomorrow, God willing.